Hey scholars, we're going to start 12 Angry Men today. This is a play, so there's a couple things I want to make sure you're aware of. This is posted in your Schoology account, so you can always go in and read for yourself. With plays, we also have a list of characters and things like that. So something you're going to want to do is probably go through and read the list of characters, who each of our jury members are, and just their personality and things like that. And then you can see there's some stage direction for where they would move and how they would move and things like that. And then some notifications that it could be played many different ways, depending on how you want to do that. And then when we are reading through, because it's just me, I will be reading. And so I want you to know how I'm going to read. So anything that is in this cursive look, that is your narration, and I'm going to read that in kind of a monotone, normal voice. I will tell you who is speaking. So here it would be the judge. They're speaking off stage, which means you don't see them. And then anything that's in print is actual dialogue that they're speaking. I will, of course, do my best to switch up my, not voice, but switch up maybe the tone or the way that I present, depending on which character is speaking. If you would prefer to go in and read it for yourself, like I said, it's in Schoology, under Scholar Resources, under 12 Angry Men. You're welcome to go in and read each section as you like, or you can just mute this and read the screen as I go. You can always pause and read if I go a little faster than you would like to go. So we're going to start in with Act 1. At rise of curtain, the curtain comes up on a dark stage. Then, as the lights start to come up on the scene, we hear the voice of the judge off stage. Judge, off stage. Murder in the first degree, premeditated homicide, is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You have heard a long and complex case, gentlemen, and it is now your duty to sit down to try and separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead, the life of another is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You are faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, gentlemen. There's a long pause. The lights are now up full in the jury room. There's a door left and a window in the right wall of the room. Over the door left is an electric clock. A water cooler is direct right with a wastebasket beside it. A container with paper cups is attached to the wall nearby. A long conference table slowly upstage of C stage. About it are 12 uncomfortable-looking straight chairs. There is a chair at either end of the table, 7 at the upstage and 3 at the downstage side of the table. Note, this arrangement of the chairs and about the table will enable most of the action to be directed towards the audience, with the minority of the characters placed with their backs towards the audience. There are 2 more straight chairs against the wall, direct left, and 1 in the upper right corner of the room. It is a bare, unpleasant room. After the pause, the door left opens and the guard walks in. As he opens the door, the letterings "Jury Room" can be seen on the outside of the door. The guard walks across the room and opens the window right as a clerk drones out. Offstage left. Clerk, offstage left. The jury will retire. Guard, surveying room, shaking his head. He doesn't stand a chance. Moves left again. The jurors file in left. The guard stands upstage of the door and counts them. 5 are 4 of the jurors light cigarettes as they enter the room. Juror 5 lights a pipe, which he smokes constantly. Jurors 2, 9, and 12 go to the water cooler for a drink. Juror 7 goes to the window and opens it wider. The rest of the jurors begin to take seats around the table, though some of them stand and lean forward with both hands on the back of the chair. Juror 7 produces a pack of gum and offers a piece to the men by the water cooler. 7. Chewing gum? 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 9. Thank you, but no. Jurors 2 and 12 shake their heads. 7. You know something? 12. I know lots of things. I'm in advertising. 7. Tugging at collar. You know, it's hot. 12 to 2, mildly sarcastic. I never would have known that if he hadn't told me. Would you? 2, missing sarcasm. I'd suppose not. I'd kind of forgotten. 12. All I've done all day is sweat. 3, calling out. Bet you aren't sweating like that kid who was tried. 7. You'd think they'd at least air condition the place. I almost dropped dead in court. 12. My taxes are high enough. 7. This should go fast. Anyway. Moves to table as 8 goes to window. 9. Nodding to himself then as he throws his paper water cup into wastebasket. Yes, it's hot. Guard. Okay, gentlemen. Everybody's here. If there's anything you want, I'm right outside. Just knock. Goes out left, closing door. They all look at door silently. The lock is turned. 3. Did he lock that door? 4. Yes, he did. 3. What do they think we are? Crooks? Foreman, seated at left end of the table. They lock us up for a little while. 3, breathing in. And then they lock that kid up forever, and that's okay by me. 5, motioning towards the door. I never knew they did that. 10, blowing his nose. Sure, they lock the door. What did you think? 5, a bit irritated. I just didn't know. It never occurred to me. 4, shall we all admit right now that it's hot and humid and our tempers are short? 8, turning from window. It's been a pretty hard week. Turns back and continues looking out. 3, I feel just fine. 12, I wonder what's been going on down at the office. You know how it is in advertising. In 6 days, my job could be gone and the whole company too. They aren't going to like this. Jurors start to take off their suit coats and hang them over the backs of chairs. Foreman, well, figure this is our duty. 12, I didn't object to doing my duty. I just mentioned that I might not have a job by the time I get back. He and 9 move to table and take their places. 9 sits near right end of the table. 3, motioning to 4, ask him to hire you. He's rich. Look at the suit. Foreman, to 4, as he tears off slips of paper for a ballot. Is it custom tailored? Yes, it is. Foreman, I have an uncle who's a tailor. 4 takes his jacket off, places it carefully over back of chair, and sits. 4, how does he do? Foreman, shaking his head, not too well. You know, a friend of his, that's a friend of my uncle, the tailor, well, this friend wanted to be on this jury in my place. 7, why didn't you let him? I would have done anything to miss this. Foreman, and get caught or something? You know what kind of fine you could pay for anything like that? Anyway, this friend of my uncle's was on a jury once, about 10 years ago, a case just about like this one. 12, so what happened? Foreman, they let him off, reasonable doubt. And you know, about 8 years later, they found out that he had actually done it anyway. Guilty man, a murderer, was turned loose in the streets. 3, did they get him? 4, they couldn't. 3, why not? 4, a man can't be held in double jeopardy. Unless it's a hung jury, they can't try a man twice for the same crime. 7, that isn't going to happen here. 3, 6 days. They should have finished it in 2. Slapping back of one hand into the palm of the other. Talk, talk, talk. Gets up and starts for the water cooler. Did you ever hear so much talk about nothing? 2, laughing nervously. Well, I guess they're entitled. 3, everybody gets a fair trial. Shakes his head. That's the system. Downs his drink. Well, I suppose you can't say anything against it. Tosses his water cup toward wastebasket and misses. 2 picks cup up and puts it in the wastebasket as 3 returns to his seat. 7 to 10. How did you like that business about the knife? Did you ever hear a phonier story? 10 wisely. Well, look, you gotta expect that. You know what we're dealing with. 7. He bought a switch knife that night. 10, with a sneer. And then he lost it. 7, a hole in his pocket. 10, a hole in his father. 2, an awful way to kill your father. A knife in his chest. Crosses to table. 10, look at the kind of people they are. You know them. Gets handkerchief out again. 7, what's the matter? You got a cold? 10, blowing. A Lulu. These hot weather colds can kill you. 7, I had one last year while I was on vacation too. Foreman, briskly. All right, gentlemen, let's take seats. 7, right, this better be fast. I've got tickets to Hamilton for tonight. I must be the only guy in the world who hasn't seen it yet. Laughs and sits down, as do others still not seated. Okay, Your Honor, start the show. Foreman, to 8, who's still looking out the window. How about sitting down? 8 doesn't hear him. The gentleman at the window? 8 turns, startled. How about sitting down? 8. Oh, I'm sorry. Sits at right end of the table opposite Foreman. 10. It's tough to figure, isn't it? A kid kills his father. Bing! Just like that. Well, it's the element. They let the kids run wild. Maybe it serves them right. 4. There are better proofs than some emotions you may have. Perhaps a dislike for some group. 7. We all agreed that it was hot. 9. And that our tempers will get short. 3. That's if we disagree. But this is open and shut. Let's get it done. Foreman. All right now. You gentlemen can handle this any way you want to. I mean, I'm not going to make any rules. If we want to discuss it first and then vote, that's one way. Or we can vote right now and see where we stand. 7. Let's vote now. Who knows? Maybe we can all go home. 10. Yeah, let's see who's where. 3. Right, let's vote now. 8. All right, let us vote. Foreman, anybody doesn't want to vote, looks around table. There's a pause as all look at each other. 7. That was easy. Foreman, okay. All those voting guilty, raise your hands. Jurors 3, 7, 10, and 12 put their hands up instantly. The foreman and 2, 4, 5, and 6 follow a second later. Then 11 raises his hand, and a moment later, 9 puts his hand up. 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 11 for guilty. Okay? Not guilty. 8's hand goes up. All turn to look at him. 3. Hey, you're in left field. Foreman. Okay, 11 to 1. 11 guilty, 1 not guilty. Now we know where we stand. 3. Rising to 8. Do you really believe he's not guilty? 8. Quietly. I don't know. 7 to Foreman. After 6 days, he doesn't know? 12. In 6 days, I could learn calculus. This is A, B, C. 8. I don't believe it's as simple as A, B, C. 3. I never saw a guiltier man in my life. Sits again. 8. What does a guilty man look like? He's not guilty until we say he's guilty. Are we to vote on his face? 3. You sat right in the court and heard the same things I did. The man's a dangerous killer. You could see it. 8. Where do you look to see if a man is a killer? Irritated. 3. Irritated by him. Oh, well. 8. With quiet insistence, I would like to know, tell me what the facial characteristics of a killer are. Maybe you know something I don't know. 4. Look, what is there about the case that makes you think the boy is innocent? 8. He's 19 years old. 3. That's old enough. He knifed his own father. 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old kid. 4 to 3. I agree with you that the boy is guilty, but I think we should try to avoid emotionally colored arguments. 3. All right. They proved it a dozen different ways. Do you want me to list them? 8. No. 10. Rising, putting his feet on seat of chair and sitting on the back of it. Then to 8. Well, do you believe that stupid story he told? 4 to 10. Now. 10. Do you believe the kid's story? 8. I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't. 7. So what'd you vote not guilty for? 8. There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first. 7. Who says it's easy for me? 4. Or me? 8. No one. Foreman. He's still just as guilty, whether it's an easy vote or a hard vote. 7. Belligerently. Is there something wrong because I voted fast? 8. Not necessarily. 7. I think the guy's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years. 8. I don't want to change your mind. 3. Just what are you thinking of? 8. I want to talk for a while. Look, this boy's been kicked around all his life. You know, living in a slum. His mother dead since he was 9. That's not a very good head start. He's a tough, angry kid. You know why slum kids get that way? Because we knock him over the head once a day, every day. I think we owe him a few words. That's all. Looks around the table. He is met by cold looks. 9 nods slowly while 4 begins to comb his hair. 4. All right, it's hard. Sure. It was hard for me. Everything I've got, I fought for. I worked my way through college. That was a long time ago, and perhaps you do forget. I fought, yes, but I never killed. 3. I know what it's like. I never killed anybody. 12. I've been kicked around too. Wait until you worked in an ad agency and the big boy that buys the advertising walks in. We all know. 11. Who speaks with an accent? In my country, in Europe, kicking was a science. But let's try to find something better than that. 10 to 8. I don't mind telling you this, mister. We don't owe the kid a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? We're all grown-ups here. You're not going to tell us that we're supposed to believe him, knowing what he is. I've lived among them all my life. You can't believe a word they say. You know that. 9 to 10, very slowly. I don't know that. What a terrible thing for a man to believe. Since when is dishonesty a group characteristic? You have no monopoly on the truth. 3, interrupting. All right, it's not Sunday. We don't need a sermon. 9, not heeding. What this man says is very dangerous. 8 puts his hand on 9's arm to stop him. 9 draws a deep breath and relaxes. 4, I don't see any need for arguing like this. I think we ought to be able to behave like gentlemen. 7, right. 12, smiling up at 4. Oh, all right, if you insist. 4 to 12, thank you. 12, sure. 4, if we're going to discuss this case, why, let's discuss the facts.